And there's some really good demonstrations of this. So, for example, we've got 4 different collections here. First, second, third, and fourth, and we're going to do the same aggregation on them. And what we're going to find is that the mean and variance for the 2 variables x and y are almost identical. And that's kind of interesting, and you might think, hey, you know what? This data is probably very similar. Well, if you actually look at the pictures behind them, you will see that the 4 data sets are actually incredibly different. And for humans, looking at pictures is just that much better. And in this case, not only are the mean and variance the same, but the correlation between x and y and the linear regression of each data set are exactly identical in every one of these 4 data sets. This is called Anscombe's quartet. This is on Wikipedia. This is actually interesting. You should go look at it. So really, what this is saying is, okay, now that we've got this cool $lookup operator and this awesome aggregation stuff, we want to actually be able to visualize our data. Right? That makes it easier for people to actually ingest it. So what do you want out of a visualizer or a visualization tool? Well, first, you want to be able to query data in its natural form. Right? It's very frustrating to have to transform everything from your operational data store to your analytical data store, because then it's not real time, it's not fast. And you also want to explore the data and iterate quickly and figure out new things. So you may not know what report you want. You just want to explore a little bit. And so people do this today with MongoDB, right? They use custom scripts, they use ETL, they write a bunch of hacks, they bang on things behind stage because they're frustrated. So the nice thing about this is there really are great tools out there that already do this. And so what we're going to introduce today is a BI connector. And this BI connector will work with any SQL-compliant BI tool out there, BI or visualization tool. And to help us sort of test this out, bring it to market, and run a beta program, we're actually partnering with Tableau to really sort of make this work really well. So to help us demonstrate just how cool this is, I'd like to invite Thierry D'hers to the stage, who's VP of Program Management at Tableau.
Super excited to be here today to show you that new integration between MongoDB and Tableau software. Now, MongoDB is known for its rapid application development, and Tableau software is best known for being, about rapid-fire analytics. So the marriage of the two and bringing the two together just made sense. So what we're going to look at here is a new connector that was built by MongoDB that connects Tableau live to MongoDB. So why don't we switch to the screen, please, and take a look at what we're looking at here. So we have a couple of collections. The first one about all the flights coming into or leaving the US in 2014 for all of the cities, all the companies, and that's the one at the top. Has some interesting information such as flights delayed, flights canceled. The second collection at the bottom is the one that has all the information about you, the attendees, and where you're coming from. So let's take a look at what we can do with Tableau software against that data. So we have our 2 collections here, and Tableau already detected a joint between the 2, like we just saw. And we filtered only on the flights coming into and leaving New York, because that's where we are. So let's take a look at what we have here. So the first thing I want to do is just get the number of transactions we have, again, for flights coming into and leaving New York, about 140,000 of those. Let me reorient that and break that down by airport city. And so we're going to see that the most number of flights leaving and coming to New York are from Boston, San Francisco, Washington. Makes sense. Now let's take a look at some stats about you, the attendees. So here I got the World ID set, the collections with the ID of all of you. And then you actually drag that into the measure collections from the dimension collections. And you will notice that Tableau automatically detected the only thing I can really do in an ID column is a count distant. So let me drag that into the picture here. And now, in our single view, we're bringing data from both collections, from the flights and from the attendees. So let me just sort that and see that most of you are coming from Boston, from San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Austin. Makes total sense. Now, I'm sure some of you might be wondering, how likely are you to be able to come back home safely without having a flight canceled or delayed? I'm sure that's in your mind, right? It is in mine. So let's take a look at all the flight canceled. So let's bring another measure into our picture here, and now we have the number of flights canceled. Now, what's beautiful about Tableau is I can not just take some fields, just some fields and do some reporting on that. I can do some analytics on the fly. So one of the things I can do, for example, here is transform that PL into a calculation like that on the fly. And for example, divide that number of flights canceled by the total number of flights per city. and then multiply that by 100. And like that, I'm just computing a calculation. Now, Tableau is not computing it. Tableau is actually remoting the calculation of that to MongoDB and leveraging the aggregation framework for that. So again, leveraging the power of MongoDB since we're live against it. So I don't need the number of flights anymore. So let me just get rid of that. So on the left, number of attendees per city. On the right, percentage of flight cancel per cities. Wouldn't you want to start mixing the two together? And for example, taking the percentage of flight canceled, applying that maybe as a color onto the number of attendees of you coming by city? Well, why don't we just do that? Take that new calculation I just created, apply it as a color, and like that, and of course, we're gonna want to change that, make it like, red-green, because of course we all want to have the red new grad. And like that, we've had now, so I have some insights. If you're coming from Boston, those of you coming from Boston, you're pretty good. Only 3% chance your flight's going to get canceled. San Francisco, 0.3% chance. If you're coming like me from Seattle, we're all good. 0% chance of getting canceled. I like that. Now, if you're coming from Richmond, things start to be a bit more easy here. And Albany, I'm sorry to say, but if I were you, I would just rent a car. All right, so a couple of minutes, and I built some rapid-fire analytics directly like that on your live MongoDB. But really, we can do more than just pictures, right? We can build some nice stories and some dashboards that really tell some interesting things with your data. So here, if you give me 10 more minutes, I will build this. So same thing, same two collections, but now building a real story. So I'm gonna go into presentation mode, and we're gonna really talk about that whole story here. So what we've done here, we've mapped all of you coming from the US from a location where you're coming from, and this is fully live. But you're not just coming from the US, you're coming from the world. That's awesome. A lot of you coming from Europe. Go Europe! France, of course. And a lot of you coming from South America and Asia, and this is awesome to see you all here. Now, I was even told that some of you come from out of this world, but we won't go there. So really so glad to see you all here for this announcement here. And the other thing I would like to advise you is, you're in New York, beautiful city, just stay a bit longer. As a matter of fact, if you're trying to fly out today, well, chances are, your flight is, higher percentage of getting canceled. If you stay longer towards the weekend, things get a lot better. And the other thing too is depend who you're flying with. So, here again, looking at all the maps from everywhere, if for example, you're looking at San Francisco, you'll notice that if you're flying Virgin America, your chances of flight cancel is a lot higher than, let's say, Delta. So again, choose wisely who you're flying with. And again, if you're Mr. Albany, again, rent a car. You're gonna get home much better that way. Anyway, so happy to have been here, and it was a real pleasure and honor to be here to present that new integration between MongoDB and Tableau software. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you all.